The great hall of the Zephyrian palace buzzed with tension as Queen Valara stood before the assembled council. Her crystalline scales caught the light from the twin suns streaming through the massive windows, casting rainbow patterns across the polished floor. Beside her, Princess Kira shifted nervously, her young face bearing the same ethereal beauty as her mother, but lacking the hardened resolve that came with ruling an empire. "The time has come," Queen Valara announced, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Our princess must choose a mate who will help rule our domain when I am gone. As tradition demands, 5 warriors from across the galaxy have answered our call." The first warrior stepped forward, a towering Gorvak whose muscles bulged beneath his ceremonial armor. His species was known for their incredible strength, capable of crushing starship hulls with their bare hands. The hall trembled slightly under his massive weight as he knelt before the throne. Next came the Zelthari champion, his forearms moving in perfect synchronization as he demonstrated his lightning-fast combat techniques. His people were master strategists, having never lost a war in their 3,000-year history. The third warrior was a Nethran, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming silver against his pale skin. His neural implants could process battle scenarios faster than most supercomputers, making him virtually unbeatable in tactical warfare. Fourth was the Draconi fire breather, whose natural ability to generate plasma temperatures of over 10,000 degrees had made his species the most feared in 7-star systems. Finally, at the end of the line stood Marcus Chen, a human from Earth. At average height and build, he seemed almost comically small next to the other champions. His only visible equipment was a simple utility belt and what appeared to be standard military fatigues. Several council members couldn't hide their snickers. "Surely this is a jest," muttered General Thax, the Queen's chief advisor. "What could this human possibly offer our empire?" Queen Valara raised her hand for silence. "Each warrior will face 3 trials: combat prowess, strategic thinking, and—" She paused, glancing at her daughter. "The trial of character." The combat trial began in the arena. The Gorvak demolished training automatons with crushing blows. The Zelthari danced through laser grids that would have incinerated lesser beings. The Nethran calculated and executed perfect strike patterns. The Draconi melted steel targets into puddles. Then came Marcus's turn. The crowd watched in anticipation of quick defeat. Instead, Marcus studied the challenge course with quiet intensity. Rather than attacking the automatons head-on, he identified their power sources and systematically disabled them with precise strikes. When faced with the laser grid, he used reflective surfaces to redirect the beams. His movements weren't the fastest or strongest, but they were efficient, calculated, and devastatingly effective. Princess Kira leaned forward, intrigued. The strategic trial involved commanding virtual fleets in simulated warfare. Each warrior approached it differently. The Gorvak relied on brute force tactics. The Zelthari employed complex multi-front strategies. The Nethran processed thousands of variables per second. The Draconi favored overwhelming firepower. Marcus did something unexpected. He studied not just the battlefield, but the simulation parameters themselves. Within minutes, he had identified a fundamental flaw in the enemy AI's programming. Rather than engaging in traditional warfare, he sent a single ship on what appeared to be a suicide mission. That ship delivered a carefully crafted data packet that turned the enemy fleet against itself. "Impossible," whispered the Nethran. "How did a primitive species develop such advanced cyber warfare techniques?" "We learned to think differently," Marcus replied simply. "When you're not the strongest or fastest, you learn to be creative." The final trial was announced by Queen Valara herself. Each warrior must demonstrate how they would handle the most dangerous threat to our empire, not an enemy fleet or army, but the civil unrest in our outer colonies. How would you restore order? The Gorvak's solution was direct: crush the rebellion with overwhelming force. The Zelthari proposed a complex campaign of strategic strikes against rebel leaders. The Nethran calculated optimal troop deployments for maximum efficiency. The Draconi suggested scorched earth tactics. Marcus asked for additional information. Your Majesty, may I know why these colonies rebelled? The question surprised everyone. Such details were considered irrelevant to military solutions. They claim their resources are being exploited without fair compensation, the Queen replied curtly. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. Then my solution would be to address their grievances directly. Establish fair trade agreements, give them representation in the Imperial Senate, and transform rebellion into willing cooperation. A willing subject is worth 100 forced ones. The hall erupted in debate. Some called it weakness. Others murmured about unprecedented approaches to governance. Princess Kira stood suddenly, her decision clear in her eyes. I choose the human. The gasps of shock echoed through the chamber. Queen Valara's expression was unreadable. Explain your choice, daughter. The others showed me their strength, their speed, their power, Kira said, her voice growing stronger with each word. But Marcus showed me something more valuable, wisdom. He doesn't just win battles, he prevents wars. He doesn't just command respect through fear, but earns loyalty through understanding. Our empire doesn't need another warrior. It needs a leader who can build something that lasts. Marcus stepped forward and bowed deeply. Your Highness, I am honored. But I must confess something. I am not the strongest, fastest, or most technologically advanced here. What I offer is something my species learned through necessity, the ability to adapt, to empathize, and to find solutions others can't see. Queen Valara studied the young human for a long moment. And what makes you think these human qualities will serve our empire? Because every great civilization faces a choice, Marcus replied. They can rule through fear and strength, burning brightly but briefly. Or they can rule through cooperation and understanding, creating something that grows stronger with each generation. Humanity learned this lesson the hard way. We'd like to help you learn it the easy way. As the twin suns set over the Zephyrian capital, casting the palace in hues of gold and crimson, a new chapter began. Not just for Princess Kira, but for an empire that would discover that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build. The weak human had shown them something no amount of physical power could provide, a different way of seeing the universe, one where victory meant more than just winning battles. And in that moment, the true strength of humanity revealed itself. Not in their muscles or their weapons, but in their endless capacity to imagine a better future.